Hi, friends. This is 5 minutes to make sense of the Bible. I'm Joe Hopkins. Today, we focus on the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, from the beginning of the chapter until verse 12. Many of you know this story as part of the Nativity, or birth story of Jesus, though it might not be all that you think it is. Let's dive into the context and content of this beloved Bible story. And let's start by talking Christmas. I speak these words in the middle of the 12 days of Christmas, which according to church tradition begins on December 25th and ends on January 5th. The next day, January 6th, is the festival of the Epiphany, which marks when the Holy Family of Mary, Joseph, and the infant Jesus were visited by the Magi. There is a good chance that if you have a creche, also called a nativity set, there are 3 figures in it which represent the Magi. Maybe you're wondering why I'm calling them Magi instead of the 3 kings or wise men. Well, to answer that, we need to open the Bible to the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2. And at the outset, let's remember that all of the New Testament, including the Gospel of Matthew, was originally written in Greek, and the Greek word for the folks who visited Jerusalem seeking the yet unknown Jesus is magoi, which English speakers often transliterate into magi. These folks weren't kings. Instead, they were astrologers, experts in the movement of celestial objects who somehow interpreted the appearance of a star as a sign of the birth of a new king of the Jews. These are mysterious people who are only mentioned in Matthew chapter 2. The Bible doesn't say how many they were or if they were all men, so sorry if I just ruined your creche. Anyway, according to Matthew chapter 2, the Magi caused quite a stir in Jerusalem for a little while. King Herod, the puppet monarch whom Rome placed in Jerusalem, wasn't aware of a new king of the Jews whom the Magi announced, and Herod didn't like being surprised by potential successors. In fact, Herod didn't seem to like the thought of being succeeded by anyone, and Herod occasionally assassinated potential successors, even including one of his own sons. Yet Herod didn't become Rome's favorite king of the Jews by flying off the handle all the time, so he hid his enraged fear long enough to employ the Magi as spies. Unfortunately for King Herod, the Magi hightailed it out of his kingdom as soon as they dropped off their very weird gifts for the infant Jesus, without so much of a thanks bye to cranky King Herod, who did not respond positively to being snubbed by foreign stargazers. But that's a story that begins in verse 13. Now for some questions that hopefully won't ruin the enjoyment of your nativity scene. First, how do you usually picture the Magi? Where does this picture of the Magi come from? The Bible or somewhere else? How important is this picture of the Magi for your understanding of the birth and infancy of Jesus? Next, do you ever interpret the stars and other celestial objects as signs of earthly events? How do you feel astrology mixes with Christian beliefs and teachings? Finally, the visit of the Magi takes place during a very specific political context, during the rule of King Herod. How did national or even international politics affect your childhood and the childhood of your loved ones? So there, 5 minutes to make sense of the Bible. I am preaching a sermon based on Matthew chapter 2 at Streetsville United Church, so check out our YouTube channel for a recording of our worship services. As you read the Bible by yourself, Pay attention to what piques your curiosity. The Spirit often tries to catch our attention through our curiosity. And as always, while it's good to read the Bible by ourselves, we make the most sense of the Bible when we read the Bible together. Peace, friends.